Hi guys! So today I'm going to be doing a very quick review for you of the Revlon Colorstay Not Just Nudes palette. I don't think I have too much to say, but I did want to mention it. So I did get this palette, which is in the color 02 Romantic Nudes, by the way, so there might be more of the Not Just Nudes palettes. This is in the Romantic Nudes shade. I did receive this for free from the London Drugs Beauty event, which I did my haul for ages ago. If you haven't seen that, I will link it down below as well as in a card below. But yeah, I didn't think I was originally going to review this palette because it didn't look like anything special. I've used some Revlon palettes before, and all in all, not just eyeshadows, but nothing from Revlon really impresses me. Every once in a while, I give them another go, and they just seem to disappoint me most of the time, whether it's lip products or face products or eye products. But I was pleasantly surprised by this palette. Packaging isn't anything great. It feels quite cheap. It's very slender and it doesn't feel very hard. It feels like it could break quite easily. It's nice that you can see through the lid because you can see all of the shades that are inside. It also did come with a brush, not a double-ended sponge, but actually a brush. It was a very cheap brush and both ends were kind of weak, tiny little ended brushes. I've now lost the brush because it wasn't great. It's probably in this bag somewhere, but I don't want to hunt it down. But it's not a good brush, don't worry about it. This package on the inside here is not a hard plastic, but rather a really soft plastic. It bends very easily. It feels very disposable, which again didn't lend me to wanting to try this palette out much, but I thought I should give it a go just to see, so I could tell you if it's terrible, if it's great. As you can see, these are the colors in the palette. There is no mirror, which is unfortunate, but I'm sure we all have lots of mirrors in other palettes. And as the name suggests, this is not just a nude palette. It does have mostly nudes, but it also has some sort of pinks. It has this purple up here, and it seems like a very wearable color palette for most people. Lots of people love their rosy tones. This is not a dupe by a long shot for the Naked 3 palette, but if you do like your rosy colors like that, then this could be a really good palette for you. Most of the colors in this palette are very wearable and are nowhere near as dark as they show up in this palette. None of them are super pigmented, but that could be a good thing if you are a beginner makeup person and don't want anything to look too intense. So you have to build these colors up if you do want them to reach that kind of intensity. There's a lot of midtones, there's very few darks. The darkest colors are this purple, this brown, and this sort of coppery red rusty shade. It definitely swatches more brown than I feel like it looks in the pan. That's it right there. Like, it swatches quite nice on the finger, but once you get it onto your hand, it again feels sort of like a mid-tone shade. I'm not sure my hand is lighting up like that. That's a bit weird. Anyway, I will have full swatches of this up on my blog, so if any of the colors aren't showing up very well on camera, I will leave some good images on my blog. Just to show you that brown as well, and that purple. They do show up quite nicely on the hand, or in a finger swatch, and then once swatched onto the hand, it sort of evens out. And nothing in this palette is super dark, unless you really build it up. I would say that everything in this palette at least has a teeny bit of shimmer. Nothing is completely matte. Some of the shades are a little bit more satin than shimmery. This really light pink, this taupey gragey shade, and this more tan pink shade are all basically as close to matte as you're going to get in this palette. Those are really good for highlighting. These two are pretty good for highlighting. This one's also really good for all over the lid, and this one could be good for all over the lid or for a really subtle transition shade. It doesn't show up like much, but I have used it several times on my lids and it turns out pretty nicely. It gives a super light shadow on my skin tone, so if you are a little deeper, it's going to be more of a skin tone shade, which could still be good for blending out other colors, but it's probably not going to add much of a shadow. You probably have to mix it with that brown. This brown is really great for deepening out the outer corner or the crease, as well as this rusty shade. One shade that's slightly disappointing, but still really pretty, I actually really like this color, is this one right here, because it does look sort of like a deeper mid-tone shade, but it is It has quite a bit of chunky glitter. I'm not sure if you can tell in the swatch, but it does look like it's sort of chunked up, and it doesn't come off too deep. That's it there, right down at my wrist. And it's a very pretty color. I wore it all over the lid the other day, and it's really pretty. It's really sparkly. It does have a little bit of fallout because it does have some more of that chunky shimmer in it, but it is a pretty color. It's just not quite what I expected it to be. There's this sort of silvery shade that's similar to the one I just swatched in the pan, but on the hand it does go quite gray and silvery. It's a bit of an odd one, but I feel like some people will be able to make it work. Some people, I feel like it might be too silver. It could work quite nicely though to soften up sort of the inner eye area, not the inner corner, but just like up on the lid. If you wanted to use it with this purple shade, that could be quite nice. They could blend together quite nicely. Finally, I wanted to swatch for you this lighter purple shade. On me, it's kind of a bruisey gray shade, but it could be very pretty for some people. Again, this would probably be your all over the lid color in more of a purple look. But I mean, overall, they're nice colors. None of them are too unpigmented. They definitely have some pigmentation. They just don't have a lot of opacity. You can build them up, and they are better with a primer than without one for sure. But this palette was definitely better than I was expecting, which is why I wanted to make sure that I shared it with you. For anyone that has like reservations against Revlon eyeshadows, because I know I do, this one is quite good, and I'm not quite sure the price, which I have said for like everything from the event, but I will look it up, and if this palette is out, I will leave probably right here the price of it. But yeah, I just wanted to share that palette with you. The wear on these is pretty good. If you're wanting to wear them for more than like 6 hours, you might want to touch them up. But they wear quite nicely. They don't like wear off completely. They sort of fade throughout the day. So yeah, it's not a spectacular palette, but if you are on a budget and these colors appeal to you, I wouldn't hesitate too much to pick it up, as long as you aren't going for a really deep smoky look. I think you could achieve a deep smoky look if you tried really hard, but it might take you some more time to build up the opacity that you wanted, and you might want to supplement in a dark brown eyeliner or a black eyeliner to get some of that smudgy smokiness, or use a black base. So I think that's all that I wanted to say about this palette. Let me know if you have used this palette or what you think about Revlon palettes in general down in the comments below, and give this video a thumbs up if you found it enjoyable or helped you out in some way. And don't forget to subscribe to see more videos from me, and I will see you in my next one. Bye guys. And I'm going to go in with the Revlon Not Just Nudes palette. I'm going to go in with this slightly khaki color as a transition shade.